In January 2023, the football world was stunned when Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the sport's biggest stars, left Europe to sign with Saudi club Al Nassr. It was a historic moment. For the first time, the Saudi Pro League had attracted a global icon nearing the twilight of his career, offering him an unprecedented contract. Ronaldo became the highest paid football player on the planet, estimated at around $75 million per year, and Saudi authorities saw him as the first of many major players they hoped to bring to their domestic league. Indeed, in the following months, a wave of international stars arrived in the Gulf. Reigning Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema signed with Al Ittihad. N'Golo Kante left Chelsea for Saudi Arabia, and later in 2023, Brazilian star Neymar accepted a 2-year deal with Al Hilal worth around $300 million, potentially reaching $400 million with bonuses. These big money signings raise the question, what's behind this meteoric rise of Saudi football? At the heart of the Saudi football boom is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the kingdom's powerful de facto ruler. In 2016, he launched a national transformation plan called Vision 2030, aimed at diversifying Saudi Arabia's economy beyond oil and improving quality of life in the kingdom. Sports play a central role in that vision. Bin Salman declared he wanted to bring professional sports to the country to create jobs and offer more entertainment to the population. Backed by this high-level political and financial support, Saudi Arabia has invested billions of dollars in sporting events and projects in recent years. However, international critics see another side to this sporting enthusiasm. They accuse the Crown Prince of using sports to launder the kingdom's image, a practice known as sports washing, by diverting attention away from the country's human rights abuses. Saudi Arabia has faced heavy criticism over issues such as the war in Yemen, repression of dissidents, and the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Enhancing its global reputation through the glamour of football and other sports is seen as a strategy to counter these negative perceptions. In fact, when asked about these accusations, Mohammed bin Salman candidly replied that he doesn't care what people say. If hosting sports events increases the kingdom's GDP by 1%, he'll keep doing it, and they can call it whatever they want. This blunt response reveals the pragmatic goals behind the project. Indeed, Saudi Arabia is pursuing 3 key objectives with this sporting surge. First, to boost its international image and diplomatic influence, making headlines for major tournaments and blockbuster signings, rather than just for controversies. Second, to diversify its economy in preparation for a post-oil future, developing sectors like sports, tourism and entertainment, all aligned with Vision 2030. And third, to satisfy a young population eager for more leisure options and national pride. Sport thus becomes a diplomatic and social tool, raising the kingdom's global profile, attracting visitors and investments, while also offering Saudis world-class entertainment at home. The phenomenon isn't limited to football. Saudi Arabia is making waves across multiple sports simultaneously. In professional golf, for instance, it caused a seismic shift by funding the creation of LIV Golf, a breakaway league that challenged the traditional PGA Tour. After a brief legal and boardroom battle, a surprise merger was announced in 2023 between the PGA Tour and the Saudi Public Investment Fund, PIF. In effect, Saudi money secured a central role in the future of men's golf, bringing the new league under its influence. What once seemed unthinkable, that the conservative PGA Tour would partner with a controversial Saudi-backed project accused of buying players, became a reality thanks to the blank check Riyadh was willing to write. Another field where Saudi Arabia aims to become a global powerhouse is gaming and esports. Through its public investment fund, it launched Savvy Games Group in 2021 with the mission of turning the kingdom into a worldwide gaming hub. The country has announced plans to invest $37 billion by 2030 to grow the video game industry, acquire international companies, and host massive esports tournaments. In fact, a Saudi subsidiary acquired top esports organisers ESL and Face IT in 2022 for around $1.5 billion, gaining control over some of the most prominent global competitions. This bold move reflects the importance of digital entertainment and esports in Saudi Arabia's broader economic diversification strategy. In motorsport, the kingdom is also stepping on the gas. In 2021, Saudi Arabia debuted as a Formula One host with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah. It had signed a 10-year deal with F1 to host annual races, contributing around $55 million per year to the organisation. In addition to the Jeddah Street Circuit, a permanent track is under construction near Riyadh for future events. More ambitiously, it was reported that in 2022, the Saudi PF attempted to buy Formula One outright for $20 billion, a clear signal of the kingdom's aim to control some of the world's biggest sporting platforms. Although that purchase didn't go through, as Liberty Media, F1's current owner, declined the offer, it illustrates the scale of Saudi ambitions. Boxing is another arena the kingdom has conquered. In December 2019, Saudi Arabia hosted the highly anticipated rematch for the world heavyweight title between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr. To make it happen, the kingdom reportedly paid around $60 million just to host the event, building a temporary stadium in Diriyah near Riyadh, specifically for the fight. Joshua regained his titles in front of tens of thousands of local fans, placing Saudi Arabia firmly on the professional boxing map. Since then, the country has continued to host headline bouts. In 2022, another Joshua Championship fight took place there, and in October 2023, Saudi Arabia staged a high-profile spectacle pitting boxing champion Tyson Fury against MMA star Francis Ngannou in Riyadh. Clearly, Saudi petrodollars have become a magnet for major boxing events, offering prize purses few promoters can match. Saudi Arabia's cultural push also extends to music and film, sectors that would have been unimaginable in the kingdom just a few years ago due to past religious restrictions. Today, Riyadh proudly hosts massive music events like the MDL Beast Soundstorm Festival, launched in 2019, which has already become the largest in the Middle East. Its latest edition attracted over 700,000 attendees, featuring global artists like Bruno Mars and Post Malone. The sight of young Saudis and international tourists dancing together to world-famous DJs would have been unthinkable before, and it now symbolises the new image the kingdom is trying to project. As for cinema, Saudi Arabia has gone from banning movie theatres for 35 years to launching its own international film festival in 2021. The Red Sea International Film Festival has brought Hollywood, Bollywood, and Arab film stars to the historic city of Jeddah, showcasing the cultural openness now underway. Just 5 years after lifting the cinema ban, in place since the 1980s, the country is already building a national film industry and using festivals to present itself to the world. This rapid transformation, from not screening a single film publicly to hosting glamorous red carpet premieres, perfectly captures Saudi Arabia's entertainment evolution. In short, the kingdom is investing aggressively to become a major player in all areas of sports and popular culture, integrating into spaces it once had no presence in. All of these efforts require extraordinary amounts of money. Where does it come from? The short answer: oil. More precisely, from the Public Investment Fund, PIF, Saudi Arabia's massive sovereign wealth fund, fueled by oil revenues and controlled by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Founded in the 1970s, the PIF has become the financial engine behind Saudi Arabia's sports luxury spending, from record-breaking player contracts to stadium construction and acquisitions in global sports companies. For instance, in 2021, the government, via the PIF, acquired 80% of English Premier League club Newcastle United, showing that its football ambitions go far beyond the domestic league and into top-tier European football. In 2023, Saudi authorities took another bold step by taking direct control of the country's 4 biggest clubs: Al Nassr, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, and Al Ahli. The PF confirmed the purchase of 75% stakes in each of these clubs, injecting state capital to professionalise them and fund high-profile signings. In practice, this means the salaries of stars like Ronaldo, Benzema, and Neymar are being paid by the Saudi state itself. Unlike in Europe, where clubs are mostly private entities, albeit often owned by billionaires, in Saudi Arabia, the state backs the top teams, providing them with near unlimited resources to attract elite talent. The financial structure of Saudi football has fundamentally changed. Where clubs once relied on modest local sponsors and limited budgets, they now have the full backing of the royal establishment. The PIF manages assets worth hundreds of billions of dollars, largely powered by oil wealth and state giants like Aramco, And sports are just one part of its global investment strategy. But in sports, the fund has moved swiftly and decisively, buying foreign clubs, financing rival leagues like LIV Golf, sponsoring major events such as Formula One, where Saudi Aramco is a global sponsor, and signing long-term deals with organisations like WWE and F1. Saudi money has now become ubiquitous in the world of sports. To welcome international stars and attract global events, Saudi Arabia has also had to change from within. Historically, the kingdom was known for its strict religious and social codes. For example, until 2018, women were not allowed to drive or attend football matches as spectators. However, in recent years, alongside the Vision 2030 plan, significant social reforms have been implemented. A key moment came in June 2018 when the driving ban was finally lifted, allowing Saudi women to legally get behind the wheel for the first time. Stadiums also began opening family sections, where women, accompanied by male relatives, were allowed to attend matches, breaking a decades-old taboo. These changes are part of a broader push to open up to international tourism. In 2019, the government launched a tourist visa system for the first time, allowing visitors from dozens of countries to enter, a major shift, as previously only religious pilgrims or residents could travel to Saudi Arabia. Alongside the visa rollout came relaxations in dress codes and gender segregation. Foreign women are no longer required to wear the traditional black abaya, although they are still expected to dress modestly, covering shoulders and knees. In a surprising move, unmarried foreign couples are now allowed to share hotel rooms without proving marital status, a previously unthinkable change aimed at making Western tourists feel more comfortable. Domestically, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has promoted an image of moderation. Cinemas have reopened after a 35-year ban, mixed-gender concerts and cultural events are now common, and the once-feared religious police have seen their powers curtailed. Of course, not everything has changed. Restrictions and controversies remain. Women still need permission for certain activities, and feminist activists who pushed for these reforms were imprisoned even as those same changes were enacted. Yet in terms of everyday life and social atmosphere, Saudi Arabia in 2025 is far more open than it was in 2015. This shift is crucial because the country is trying to position itself as a modern, appealing destination. In fact, the official goal is to increase tourism's share of GDP from 3% to 10% by 2030. Without certain reforms, greater freedoms for women, more entertainment options, and accommodations for visitors, that target would be out of reach. In short, the sports boom is closely tied to a broader cultural opening. The government is carefully calculating which reforms to introduce to make foreign visitors, investors, and athletes feel more at ease in the kingdom, without alienating its conservative base. It's a delicate balancing act, but so far, MBS has managed to push through once unthinkable changes while retaining control. The image of Saudi women cheering in stadiums alongside male fans, or tourists in shorts taking selfies at historic ruins, reflects a new social chapter in Saudi Arabia, driven largely by its ambition to open up to the world. Saudi Arabia isn't the only Gulf country using sports to gain global influence. Its neighbours Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, UAE, have been pursuing similar strategies for over a decade, though with their own distinctive approaches. Qatar, with a tiny population but vast natural gas wealth, put itself on the global sports map by hosting the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the first World Cup ever held in the Arab world. Additionally, through its sovereign wealth fund, QSY, the Qatari royal family purchased Paris Saint-Germain in 2011, transforming the club with superstar signings like Messi, Neymar, and Mbappé, achieving worldwide visibility. These moves fueled Doha's global ambitions, though they also attracted criticism for the treatment of migrant workers who built the World Cup stadiums. In other words, while Qatar gained prestige, it couldn't escape sports washing accusations, a criticism now being directed at Saudi Arabia as well. The United Arab Emirates, particularly Dubai and Abu Dhabi, have used sports and tourism as development levers for even longer. In 2008, Abu Dhabi's Sheikh Mansour acquired Manchester City, which recently won the Champions League, and since 2009 the city has hosted the Abu Dhabi Formula One Grand Prix. Dubai, meanwhile, has established itself as a global tourism hub by offering a more liberal and westernised lifestyle than Riyadh or Doha, complete with bars, mixed beaches, luxury hotels and concerts, all in a safe and highly international environment. In fact, the UAE was a pioneer in relaxing Islamic laws to attract foreigners. As early as 2020, it abolished the ban on unmarried couples living together and loosened alcohol restrictions, implementing reforms that Saudi Arabia would only adopt later. This earlier cultural openness helped Dubai position itself as a business and tourism hub in the region, something Saudi Arabia now seeks to replicate on a much larger scale. In terms of sports investment, Qatar and the UAE set the template. Gulf Royals invested in European clubs, tennis and cycling tournaments. The Tour de France features teams sponsored by UAE and Qatar, MMA events, and more. Saudi Arabia is now racing to catch up and surpass those efforts. The key difference is scale and speed. Saudi Arabia has a much larger population and territory, and it's compressing into just a few years what its neighbours did over 1 or 2 decades. Moreover, Riyadh seems willing to spend even more aggressively, sometimes with no clear immediate return, just to claim the spotlight. Another point of contrast is public perception. Qatar's 2022 World Cup tested the region's cultural tolerance. For example, the country's decision to ban beer sales in stadiums drew criticism in the West. Saudi Arabia, learning from that experience, is expected to offer more visitor-friendly conditions. If it hosts major events, it is already the likely host of the 2034 World Cup, being the sole serious bidder. In short, Qatar and the UAE were trailblazers in using sports as a geopolitical and economic strategy, each in their own way. Now, Saudi Arabia is taking the baton, backed by even greater resources. While their goals, global prestige and economic diversification, are shared, the level of social openness and financial scale varies significantly. The rise of Saudi football is not an isolated phenomenon. It's part of a much broader national project. Following the arrival of Ronaldo and other stars, it's clear that Saudi Arabia is determined to reshape the global sports landscape by sheer financial force. But beyond the transfers and goals lies a calculated transformation, a crown prince working to polish his country's image, prepare the economy for a post-oil future, and place Saudi Arabia at the centre of global attention. Sports are the vehicle to achieve that, whether through lifting football trophies, hosting mega tournaments, or filling stadiums with new fans. For now, the kingdom has made it clear that it will play by its own rules, backed by a formidable checkbook and a long-term vision. The rise of Saudi football is just the tip of the iceberg of a wider transformation. Over the next decade, we'll see whether this Vision 2030 dream turns Saudi Arabia into the new capital of global sport, or whether it runs up against limits. One thing's certain, the match is already underway and the whole world is watching to see what comes next out of Riyadh.